Welcome back everyone. Where we left off last time, we made it so that we could actually see where we were shooting the zombie by adding a blood effect, and we also fixed the bug that allowed us to keep killing the zombie after he was already dead. Now, I did notice one thing after that tutorial with the actual particle system itself. If you go to the particle system, if I bring this out into the scene, you'll notice that it's actually forward axis, its z-axis is facing to the right, and we're instantiating it so it's shooting out to the right, the blood, and you can't see the actual decal itself. So I can't actually remember if I've messed around with these and modified them in the past, so maybe yours isn't like this, but if it is set to 180 there, just change that to 270, and now you should be able to see the actual decal itself, and the blood should come out forward like that. Okay, so make sure you select it on it and then just press apply, and now in the prefab it'll also be set on 270, and you can delete this out of your scene. Okay, so now it should be facing the right way when we instantiate it. Okay, so today I was going to do a spawning system, but I think we'll leave that for now. I want to mix it up a little bit from the coding, and I was thinking we could do some animation on the pistol and start that off. And once we've done with this, then we'll do the spawning system for the zombie, I promise. So we were lucky enough to get this really cool pistol that actually came in separate parts, and this is going to make it possible for us to animate it. Disclaimer, I am not a professional animator, but I know enough to be able to show you guys how to achieve pretty decent animations if you spend some time on them. I'm not going to be spending a great deal of time on it, obviously, otherwise this tutorial will go for hours. You generally, if you're not a professional animator, you want to spend a fair bit of time to get them right. Even professional animators would spend a fair bit of time making sure it was all smick. Okay, another disclaimer, I've never fired a pistol in my life. I live in Australia where our gun laws are pretty strict, so you can only shoot a pistol at a gun club really. And I've fired lots of rifles because I grew up on a farm, but never a pistol. So I'm just going to be guessing basically how this all works. I do have knowledge of how a gun works, but don't laugh at me if I don't do this exactly right. If you're an expert on pistols or you shoot pistols a lot, it's just a game, okay? So relax. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to go to animations, and we're going to make a folder for our anims, anims, and then we'll chuck that zombie controller in there, and then we'll make another folder and we'll say weapon anims, and this one is for our pistol. So now we have a folder to put our animations because we're going to need a fair few. And if you click on the actual pistol and your animation tab here, if you don't have this animation tab, you can come to this drop down, add tab, animation. You can do the same up here. Don't forget you can dock these tabs wherever you want, but we obviously want it down here unless you have your screen set up differently than me, which a lot of people do. Okay, so I want to animate the whole pistol to start with because I want to do kind of a recoil when the gun actually shoots. So go to create, and we'll call this gun recoil. I want that a capital so it just doesn't look right to me. Gun recoil, and we want to put it in animations, weapon anims, pistol, the folder we just made. Save it in there. And now we're ready to animate. So to animate, I don't know if I've explained, actually I think I have done animation before, but for those of you that don't know, this is the animation window, and what you get to start with is from 0 to 1, 0 to 1, which is 0 seconds to 1 second, and it's also 0 keyframes to 60 keyframes. So each one of these represents a keyframe or 1 second. Okay, so there's a few other things you can do in the animation window apart from just setting up your animations. You can animate pretty much anything. You can animate the position, the rotation, the scale. You can also animate UI and other elements of Unity. Another feature that I use quite a fair bit when making games is the event. You can add an event to a specific point of an animation and then call a function from a script, which is extremely handy. So I think later on in this series we'll probably do a couple of them so I can demonstrate how to use them and why they're so awesome and I love them so much. But for now we're just going to do some basic animations. Okay, so we've got our pistol selected. We need to go to add property, we open up the transform, and we're going to animate the position of this pistol, and we're going to animate the rotation. This is an easy way to set it up because now we'll get the keyframes at 0 and at 1 by default. So the keyframes are going to be exactly the same for here. So when the animation starts, it's going to be in this position, and when the animation finishes here, the gun's going to be back into this exact same position with all of these values that are blue. So you press record if you want to animate, and we're going to, I'll click halfway between. This is going to be way too slow, obviously, a second for the recall. We probably want it quicker, but we can always make it faster in a minute. So halfway at 30 frames, I'm just going to move the pistol back a little bit. Then I'm going to press E to bring up the rotation tool, and then I'm going to click on the red band and just rotate it up like that a little bit. Now I'm going to click on these keyframes and drag them to about the 3rd frame, and I'll also click on these keyframes and drag them to the 6th frame. So now if we left click back here, we can see the animation. Okay, and you can also press play to see it, and as you see it's quite fast now and it's looping. Okay, so that's basic recoil done. I'll turn off the record button. Now I want to, we don't want to do the body, we do want to do the hammer. Excuse me, bloody hell. Every time I do a tutorial my throat buggers up because I have just done a tutorial about an hour before this, and I'm not used to talking so much. But anyway, back on the pistol, next animation, if we click here we can do another one, and we will do create new clip, and we'll call this hammer. And then if we select the hammer, you'll notice that the actual transform or the pivot point of the hammer is in the middle. You see it better like that. You can change that with this button here that says center. We put that on pivot, it'll now use the pivot point from down here, which is probably going to be better for this type of animation. So press E again to get your rotation tool. We'll go to add property, transform, we just want rotation this time. Click on the record button. I'll go 30 frames again and pull this back a bit. I've got no idea how far this is supposed to come back, so just do it however you want. And then I'm also going to drag this back to 3 frames and 6 frames. So now we have a hammer action. Alright, as you can see, I'm not spending much time on them, so yeah, just do whatever you want. Now we're up to the magazine, so we're going to do, I'll go back to the pistol, turn the record button off, create new clip, and we'll do this as the reload. So for the reload, I'm going to keep this pretty simple as well, and make sure we've got the whole pistol selected. Go to transform, position, yeah, we'll use rotation as well. Rotation, and about halfway through, I want the gun to kind of go up in the air. If we check on the game view, you can see the pistol's up in the air there. Probably want it to be a little bit higher for the second. Can always move it back down. I forgot to press record, so if I press record, it will automatically go back to its original position. And it did, yeah, it did. I'm not a liar. So I'll move it up to there. And we will also, how are we going to do this? Also rotate it. Yeah, rotate it like that. Rotate it like that up in the air. And now we will click on the magazine. And we'll go to add property. No, we don't need to add the property. Is this going to work? I think this should work. Let's have a look. I just want to move the magazine, so hopefully, yes, that's right. So I'm just going to pull the magazine out and move it far away. It's out of the screen. And then at about here maybe, I want the magazine to go back in. Where is it? There it is. The easiest way to put the magazine back where we want it, I suppose, is to go to the start, make sure magazine is selected, and the Y value is here of where it originally was. So if we just copy this and then go back to where we want it in there, and then we make sure the magazine is selected, obviously, paste them coordinates in, bang, the magazine is exactly where we want it, and then the gun will go back to normal. So how does it look? That's the gun, proper view from the game. Gun comes up. You can't really see the magazine coming out. You can. I would like the gun to be up a bit more before the magazine comes out. So if I move this there, and then which ones are for the magazine? Oh shit. I don't actually know how to just highlight the ones that were for the magazine. Because I just want them to be up. So what I'll do is, I'll just delete that, all of them. I'm sorry, someone's probably screaming at me going, you just do it like this. I'm sorry man, I'm not a professional animator. Right, so we will have some keyframes at 15. We will put the gun up higher. We'll then rotate it again, like so. That much is fine. And then here, we will take the magazine out and far away, and then back in, finish. Okay, let's have a look. It comes up. Yeah, that's heaps better. I can see it come out and back in just before we can't see it again. Okay, that'll do. I'm happy with that. Turn that off. So if you want to see it in proper speed, so that's all in 1 second. We could make it slower if you want, but I'm just going to leave it fast for now. You can stretch it out, so maybe, you know, scroll back like this, and you could put this at 2 seconds. 45 and 45 is 90, so you could put that at hang on, 130. Yeah, 130, sorry. I'm good at maths. And this would be 60 obviously, so 1 second, and this would be at 30. Okay. That is pretty slow, but anyway, you get the picture. So stop that animation, put that back there. Now what have we got to do? We've got to do the slide. This is the one I'm not entirely sure on. I presume when the gun fires, the slide comes back to like there, and then the shell casing comes out. Yeah, that's what we're going to do anyway. So with the pistol selected, we'll make another one and create new clip and say slide. Then we will I'll click on the actual slide, the transform position, press record, and we will, you don't have to have it on pivot anymore, by the way, for these type of ones. So center and pull that back to there. While that's there, I'll turn the animation off for a second. I want to make sure, yeah, the cartridge eject is there. Make sure your cartridge eject is lined up with here, because this is the point we want the casing to come out of. Yeah, and then I'll just speed this animation up as well. This will be quite fast. Maybe just stick with the 3 and 6 frames for now. See how that is. Okay. And then of course the trigger. So I'm just going to click on the pistol and make a new clip. And we'll call this trigger. You can't actually see the trigger, but we're just going to do it anyway because we can. So trigger. I'm going to put that on pivot because I want to rotate it from that position, and then it's just going to be rotation. Turn the record button on, and then press E to rotate, and I suppose there's good enough. And then I'll just stick with the good old 3 and 6 because that's what we've been doing. Okay, and now we're pulling the trigger. Cool. So we now should have, if you select it on the pistol and you go to your animator, we should have all of these clips in our animator, which is controlled by this. This is actually the pistol animator controller, and this is what will hook everything up, and then we'll control all these animations through the gun script. Okay, so I think that'll do it, because this is going to take a little bit of stuffing around and a bit of coding, and then once we've done that, in the next one we will do the enemy spawner. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you learnt a little bit about animation off someone that's not very good at it. And yeah, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, comment, all the rest of it. It helps me out a lot. It's easy for you guys to do, and it makes me feel like, you know, I'm not just giving up my free time for no reason, and some of you guys actually do appreciate you know, me trying to help you out. So cheers, and I'll see you guys soon.